Well, we hope that you all are out there celebrating with your families, getting into the holiday spirit. And of course, I'm sure that everyone's done a little bit of decorating this holiday season. Nothing says Christmas cheer, though, like communist China and the fact that they are suppressing Christianity in their own country domestically while they are reaping massive profits from all of those Christmas exports. A lot of people don't think about that. They think you're just getting this innocent little Christmas bauble for your Christmas tree or your Christmas lights for your house. Well, check this out. So the Chinese government has exported approximately $1.1 billion in Christmas tree ornaments to the U.S. in just the first 9 months of the year. So that's 92% of all the decorations imported by American firms, and that includes 87% of Christmas lights. So the Christmas lights throws, millions more on top of that 1.1 billion. So these are large profits that the Chinese are raking in, but the ruling Communist Party routinely suppresses any Chinese citizens who practice Christianity. So here we are giving billions of dollars to this oppressive atheistic government of China, who is now cracking down on anyone in their country who wants to practice Christianity, Falun Gong, spiritual movement, for instance, Buddhism. What do you guys think about that?
Well, as you mentioned, the Communist Party in China has imposed severe restrictions on the Chinese Christians who want to travel abroad, whether it be for religious purposes. And they've also made it really hard on them to have churches inside of their homes. So these are, communist tactics to try to, keep Christians either in fear of being public about their religion or just from being Christian at all. And of course, that's the hypocrisy here out of China. They're going to massively profit off of this holiday, which is perfectly fine. But at the same time, they're going to try to suppress it domestically amongst their own civilians. So the Chi-Coms need to either step up and completely ban Christmas, which of course we don't support that, or allow your citizens to celebrate Christmas just as you celebrate the massive profits you make from Christmas every year.
Well, it's interesting. We're seeing kind of a crackdown on the celebration of Christmas decorations all over the West, though.
We are. Don't you think, though, that it's up to us? And Trump actually talked about this in the campaign that, our export policy, we're not exactly taxing them at the same rate that they're taxing us. We've agreed to accept these massive exports from China, and part of that's on us. But going back to the Christmas aspect of this, it's really difficult to find products that are made in America that are affordable, and they're able to do this because they're taking advantage of our tariff system, namely, I mean, the communistic aspect of who's producing this stuff aside for a moment, it's up to us to sort of, curb that with our own tariff policy. Not to mention, we're in a little bit of a crisis with China right now. It looks like they've captured one of our underwater military drones that we were using for research off the South China Sea. So it looks like, we're kind of in a contentious place with China anyway, and we're moving towards that, I think.
Well, and Donald Trump has not made any bones about how he feels about that. He's tweeted, we've all seen his tweets, did China ask us if it was okay to devalue their currency, making it hard for our companies to compete? They tax our products heavily going into their country. And so he has, really not held back how he wants to redo this one China policy. And I thought it was really funny. You brought up the drone. And so he says, you know what? We don't want the drone. They can keep it. We don't care, because what are they going to do? They're going to want it back with conditions. And so, everyone was like, well, he is inflaming U.S.-China relations. Think Progress has this article out about this is bad news. And so they're talking about how he is inflaming these U.S.-China relations. The drone thing is just the latest. Of course, we had that phone call to the president of Taiwan. So here, listen to this Think Progress article. So it says, the seizure of an unmanned American drone in international waters was an unprecedented move that thwarted diplomatic norms, but it was hardly the worst possible scenario two nuclear-armed superpowers could find themselves in. When he took that phone call from the president of Taiwan, it was like, oh my gosh, nuclear war, totally going against diplomatic norms, when the day before, no one knew what the protocol was for talking to Taiwan, the president of Taiwan from the president-elect. But then all of a sudden, they're experts on it. We're going to, starting World War III with China. So anything he does is basically, going to be ramping up the tensions with our nuclear allies.
Well, let's keep in mind that China is basically building land masses in the South China Sea right now, which is a heavily contested area, and essentially putting military bases there, something that's upsetting other regional powers in the South China Sea. So they're kind of being aggressors there too. But just to get back to the economical aspect and the Christmas and the product aspect of this, this can kind of serve as an example of how not just over Christmas, but all products that Americans are buying are massively produced in China. And Donald Trump has started to shed some light on how that goes on, the devaluation of currency, the unfair trade deals, why companies want to move there for their manufacturing. And we can talk about the tariffs and this, that, or the other thing. But really, Americans have the power to take this back. Americans can decide, you know what, I'm going to look.
You don't need all the cheap crap.
I'm going to look at these products, and if it says made in China, well, maybe I'm going to look for something that says made in America instead. Right. And that's how we can bring commerce back. Of course, Trump talks about actually bringing the manufacturing back too. So you could kind of have a double-edged sword attack at this, where Americans look to buy American, but also Donald Trump looks to implement fair tax deals, fair tariff deals, and bring the manufacturing back.
I love that the mainstream media is crying out feverishly because he's showing strength. Look, he tweeted to them, go ahead, keep the drone. We don't even want it back. Go ahead and keep it. We're not negotiating with you. He's
That's Obama's drone.
Exactly. Right. Do you know what they did? Do you remember the President Obama landing in China and the issue with the tarmac where they wouldn't even
didn't give him the stairs?
Exactly. They wouldn't even give him stairs. So they clearly don't respect us, respect our leadership. And it's time to be in a position of strength. It's really encouraging. And hopefully, can you imagine right now if Hillary Clinton were assuming office, the TPP, the trade deals that we would see coming out with it? They already own so much of our debt to begin with. I mean, we would have a stamp on it saying made in China before it's all over with. I mean, I think this is a really good thing, this projection of strength.
Exactly. They do respect that power. And so, going back to this one China policy, that basically establishes that countries seeking diplomatic relations with China must sever ties with Taiwan and vice versa. A decades-old agreement reached by Richard Nixon and Mao Zedong in 1972, okay? So they're saying, look, this is allowed for the endurance of relations between the superpowers, and how dare you, thwart come between these relations. But that's what we're talking about, voting with our dollars and being able to say, you know what, this is an issue. We don't want these bad trade deals. And frankly, the fact that we are being forced to buy all of this cheap crap from China, we are using our dollars to prop up this regime that, is going against practitioners of a spiritual faith that they disagree with, the Falun Gong spiritual movement. This is they've been in prison, they've been tortured, they've been into forced labor camps, and many people are reporting that they're actually forcibly having their organs harvested for, people going in to get organ tourism. Mm-hmm. They have organs on demand. And where do they come from? People are on waiting lists for years here to try to get an organ, but you can go there, organs on demand. So, this is something that we are supporting by going to these big box stores and buying all this cheap crap. When frankly, everyone, that I know, my family included, they buy their stuff and then they go and they donate it to Goodwill when they're done. So for every holiday, you can frankly go to Goodwill and find some recycled stuff. You don't have to continually support these oppressive regimes that are profiting.
Well, and again, this is the kind of story that I think can really hit home with some people, because how many people out there every year go out and buy new Christmas ornaments or new Christmas lights or the latest Christmas decorations? Okay, well, now they look at the thing and they say, oh, made in China. You know what? Maybe this year I'll lay off. Mm-hmm. Maybe this year I'll try to find something made in America. This is the kind of story that if people really sink their teeth into, I think can make a conscious effort basically not to give all of China the Christmas commerce that comes in. Everybody knows Christmas is, one of the most profitable, if not the most profitable holidays going. If they understood that profit was going to China, they might be more conscious in their purchasing power or where they're spending that money. I mean, we were talking about this before we came on the set. You were talking about giving me a hard time, like, oh, well, where'd you buy your Christmas decorations, Owen? Where'd you get your Christmas gifts? But it's something people really need to think about. I mean, this is how you can strengthen the American economy without even the president's help. Withdraw your funds going to China and Chinese products and try to buy American.
Well, and that was the big issue with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and that we were kind of making deals with countries that still practice enslaved labor.
That have serious humanitarian issues,
Exactly.
like China, that's just one of them, Leanne, though. But touching back on this organ, I know we're running out of time, the organ situation, if you think about this for a moment, we're dealing with a country that takes organs from political dissidents, from political prisoners, and sells them for profit. Maybe it's time to stop doing business with them.
Absolutely. Well, think of...
In case you haven't heard, InfoWars has become the most influential media outlet in America. We're making freedom go viral. And now we are proud to announce a new weapon in the epic battle against the globalists. InfoWars Prime, where you can watch live high-definition feeds of The Alex Jones Show, plus exclusive insider videos from the InfoWars crew and behind-the-scenes action. Go to Infowars.com/app and download today. InfoWars Prime is available right now for your iPhone or Android. You will have access to exclusive videos that you can't see anywhere else. And that means live coverage of events and breaking news on location as it happens. You can also take advantage of amazing deals from the InfoWars store that are only available for InfoWars Prime subscribers. That's InfoWars Prime at Infowars.com/app. And if you can hear my voice, you are the resistance.